Hey, how's it going? Today is 4th of January, Thursday, and we take a look at what kind of opportunities are available up there. Within this video, I'll touch on what kind of sourcing or perhaps finances should be available and how potentially you can take part in receiving that finances, right? In today's videos, I have taken a look already at perhaps how to receive license, right? So I would say that's very important. Lengthy process. Sometimes some people US, right? There recently was a published case work example where within US they have been building wind farms, largest wind farm to be built within US. I'm not entirely sure what state. I think it's somewhere in the south, right? Perhaps noise pollution might be a big problem. So most likely within the state there will be away from population, right? Densely populated area, right? Within there to receive a license to do that project, it took 17 years. 17 years. That's U.S., right? So once that been said, I have taken a look at process of how to receive license within the first video today. And from there we can progress into today's video where we're taking a look at UK's Energy Research Centre and what kind of support is available. Project that I have mentioned, it took 17 years, maybe because they have been doing it on land, right? I don't know if it's easier or I don't know what's harder, but this is a case study example where what was happening within US, right? What's happening within UK. Invite only applications to be phase 4 UK Energy Research Centre Director to apply for funding from 2024 to 2029. This funding will enable an interdisciplinary whole system approach to accelerate the transition to a net zero energy system. You must be based at UK research organization enabling for UKRI funding. So you or myself coming into this, that would be industry. Perhaps that would be applications, right? At least the way how I'm thinking coming into this, right? So and it has invitations only. That's a closed party, right? Some of those parties, the movies are made about these parties about only 10 people doing some of those projects, invitations only, right? I can touch on that in just a second. Or perhaps I can jump in invitations only and I can progress who can only enter those competitions, right? I'll touch on this one just because it's some of the things happening right now, right? So that will be UK acquiring hardware, right? Even because there's as I mentioned, that perhaps 100 projects that a person would need to do at the same time. So I don't know if it's good, I don't know if it's bad, it's 100 things happening. Try your best to keep up, I guess, with everything what's happening, right? Well, then tackling some of those projects, right? Some of those obstacles that many people would face, right, would be perhaps invitations only, or perhaps how hard it would be having access to anyone to some of those things, including perhaps some of the hardware, right? This was an announcement made last year, September 13, right? And it was something about two hardware or two computers to be acquired within UK. One was in Cambridge, that would be name of the computer would be Down, and another one would be within NCC, and they call this computer known as Isambard AI, right? So that's another computer. And so it's without going too much into detail, I'll jump right into the hardware. It will be a government in March backed by 900 million investment to transform UK's computing capacity and establishing dedicated AI research resources. Right, here we go. So perhaps if I would reach out to this organization, we already have invitations to only 5 companies. Have reached out to the team and how I can have access to that computer. I'll touch on that in just a second. I have received a response about having access to this computer, right? And the response was, perhaps it would be best if I would rephrase it in order to protect people involved, right? Because that's not the point. The point is that this computer is going to be used for perhaps research only, not necessarily for commercial use, right? And particularly initially, for perhaps for a limited time only. They're gonna use this computer only for researchers, right? Not necessarily for commercial use, since I would be coming as an industry, right? This is overview is something that I have shared, but and perhaps for commercial use, there might be perhaps not necessarily in the beginning, perhaps next year, mid next year. So within next, so this is what the person advised me. Well, I'm trying to protect the dentist and everything, right? So that would be within next 18 months or so. So computers would be there, and people not necessarily would be able to, or businesses acquire that. And from there, I have progressed into suggesting two ways of how and proposing a plan, right, of how I believe would be a best process going forward, right? Perhaps giving access that would be point A and point B, right, which would be I personally believe would be very important, right? Point A, where the in the past there was a credit system, for example, 20 different projects could receive around 20,000 worth of credits to work with and having access to those supercomputers. That would be perhaps support of how 20 projects, different businesses would be able to access that computer as soon as they can, possibly, just because of the Moore's Law. Moore's Law, formulated by George Moore, co-founder of Intel in 1965, we see that number of transitions of the microchip will double approximately every 2 years, leading to exponential increase in processing power. It's just because otherwise this investment that was made, what I believe partly or entirely funded by taxpayer people, would be a waste of money otherwise, just because diminishing returns and investing in hardware, and every 24 months computing power becoming better and better, right? Once we touch on some of those opportunities, right, even hardware or businesses or number of businesses having access to some of those computers, who potentially investment was made, but not necessarily anyone would have access for another 18 months or so, right? For whatever reason, right? From there, which I personally would be very important for many people have acquire access, right? Perhaps I can put something together with the working with those people within different institutions, how more people or businesses or researchers would be able to access some of the hardware, right? Well, I mentioned to you before, right? And when it comes to having access, well, perhaps I need to at the same time looking to gain access to a number of those projects, right? So that's just one project, right? So that would be Bristol, and my business is based in Bristol. So I thought I'll start from there. But as we talk, perhaps I need to reach out to another 5 computers. And from there we can progress the invitation solely applications for phase 4 up 4 UK Energy Research Centres directors to apply for funding from 2024 to 2029. Okay, the net transition, right? So perhaps there will be potential there. Would UKRI will fund 80% of the potential cost. The funding duration is for up to 60 months, right? So that's how potentially there's opportunities there, how projects can be built. But again, how to have access, who has the keys, right? Let's forget the eligibility, right? If we're taking a look at, but most likely that would be some roadblocks and reasons why not necessarily there would be allowed certain projects or might not be allowed, and some projects might be allowed, right? That's invitations only, some of those projects there. And eligibility would start from there and progress into perhaps something that would be considered consortium, perhaps, a number of organizations that can take part and who cannot take part. Who is eligible to apply? The Phase 4 UK Research Center, currently led by, there's the names there, has been invited to apply for the funding opportunity. Okay, so I'll try to reach out to this organization and see if I can have access to some of those opportunities there. But again, that would be up for debate, I guess. Then someone would ask you why electricity or energy costs would be so expensive in the world, in particular if we take a look at UK, that would be some of those reasons why. Because it's very hard to enter some of those competitions, in particular when they're putting within the contracts, they might put a lot of clause within the contracts, they might put how to enter those competitions, reasons like invitation, so on. They put you need to work with that person, You need to have access to that computer. You need to do this. You need to do that. So the process is very hard, right? So by the end of the day, there might be just, I don't know, a couple of friends doing or taking part in some of those competitions, right? When it comes to acquiring access and or having operating, even if we're taking a look at some of those industries like aviation or aerospace, right? There's only perhaps five, as I mentioned previously, right? Perhaps why there would be only perhaps four companies, five companies, I don't know, two companies only. So that's really some of those reasons there. There is additional information how to apply for this or similar competitions, right? That's just an example, right? If not this one, there's gonna be a next one. Hopefully within 10 minutes or so, I'll be taking a look at the next one. If anything, I like to bring more attention for people who perhaps are just doing what they're doing, right? But this is something that myself or other perhaps another five people are constantly frustrated about, right? About current way of doing things. Perhaps some of the things might be changed in the future, but this is what is currently happening, and the process would be, and it would be closing at 10th of January, so within the next 6 days, right? So perhaps you can express your interest, and you yourself might be interested in taking part, but this is what's happening, right? Or perhaps they will not respond, and I would have, as we speak right now, I have so many reasons. Oh, I don't know what would be the procedures, right? I have so many people already who this is the way how they're doing business, right? And this is what's happening, and perhaps that's a continuous cycle, right? So if it's something the way how my business or other business would be treated, what would that lead to in the future, right? And later they would bring up that there's a lot of corruption, people are not doing something that they're supposed to do. There's a procedure in place where you can submit all the documents and they not respond to you for 6 or so months, right? So this is what's happening, right? Yourself, if you're interested in learning more, I have published a journal, Inkflow. Within this journal, I'm taking a look and I'm looking to share how to begin, how to structure. Once you have a feeling, how to progress from there in building routines, and from those you can potentially set yourself and or targets on the right path in achieving what you would like to accomplish within your time, right? And how to do it, that would be potentially if you can stick to what you set yourself to accomplishing for at least 70 days, 90 days. That's the way how I structure this journal. That would be every single day, a 24-hour window, how to approach it, and what you should do that, and continuously do that for 24 hours every single day for 90 days. You can find it, QR code in the corner, company's website below. Myself, how to do it, I do understand how to do it, right? There's different problems of that. And I'll see, I'll reach out to this organization and they might send me an invitation, which would be great. And perhaps putting that in the documents, right? Express your interest and we will send you an invitation, would be great. Or perhaps we'll try to slow a lot of business down in solving this problem, since it might be a major problem and they already have existing businesses and they like to hold on to what they have acquired over the years and not necessarily let anybody else in. There might be another way how to structure some of those documents and having invitations only, right? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.